had a visual. That's what I said. Oh, there we go. Okay, I know. I see it now. Okay, let's go a bit further forward. Now, these little antelope live in pairs, and they are monogamous. One of the few antelope species that is. And I think that is, let me just have a look, see if I can just get them past the little bushes there. A little bit further. There we go. That is the little male Steenbok. You can see his little horns. Now they live in a small area of about 4 acres. Oh, dashing, dashing, dashing. Now, because they live in such a small area, sometimes it can make it a little bit easier for predators to find them. So they've got some interesting defense mechanisms to avoid the teeth and claws of the various predators out here. One is that they actually bury their feces. So, of course, they spend so much time in a small area that they'll have to dig down, bury their feces to help not be seen by, or not be seen, but smelt and by a lot of the predators. And their second defense mechanism is actually how they got their name. A steen is a brick in Afrikaans, and so it's a brick buck, and it's called a brick buck because one of their most successful ways to avoid predators is to keep stock still. So they'll just lie there, and I've actually seen wild dogs sniff within 30 centimeters of a Steenbok that's just basically closed its eyes and going, I hope this works, I hope this works. And it does work quite well. So anyway, that's 2 really interesting defensive mechanisms that a little antelope like a Steenbok can use to avoid the big predators. Good morning, Kola. Nice to hear from you again. Kola would like to know, is that behavior from a herd behavior, or is it from when they're born? Well, I think most of it's instinctive, and Steenboks don't live in herds, they live in pairs. So there's only 2 of them ever together. Unless there's a baby, then you'll sometimes see 3, but normally you'll only see 2 in a territory, and quite often even then one could be on this side of the territory, one can be on the other. And like with a lot of animals, I'd say that behavior is instinctive, so they're born with that knowledge. It's many thousands of years of evolution kicking in. No elephant tracks crossing yet, which is a good sign, which means they could still be on Djuma, and I'm really hoping we find some ellies. A nice big bull would be wonderful. And there's that spider web that's just really... There we go, driving me nuts. I got it. And it had just a little bit of leaf attached to it, so it just kept jumping into my eye line. It's a good morning for tortoises, nice and cool and still damp, so we might find the odd speaks hinged tortoise or leopard tortoise on the march. That would be quite pleasant. Okay, we're gonna keep checking for elephants here up on the northern edge of Djuma. While we do that, let's go see how Steph's faring on foot.
We're busy approaching the scene of a crime, a kill scene. Here you can see a low-felt gardenia that's been hammered by an elephant. And this year, in particular, in response to the drought, the elephants were targeting the gardenias. And what's quite interesting about why they've been targeting these gardenias lies in the fact that the elephant don't eat, or don't seem to eat, anything to do with the branches. Come and have a look here. They're really just targeting the roots. So you can see this is the low-felt gardenia. This is a tree probably hundreds of years old. They grow incredibly slowly. A few millimeters, a few centimeters a year only. But none of the branches were touched. Only the roots. And you can almost see how they pared the tree down. Right where I'm standing is where the tree was growing, and you can see how the bush has just been strewn with branches. The elephants were targeting the roots, just the roots. And the reason for that is that these roots, in humans at least anyway, are used as a purgative. It induces vomiting, it also induces a runny tummy. And the traditional uses for this tree are exactly that, as a cleansing agent, as a body cleansing agent. And, oh, it's a bittery smell. Leaves are quite a weird, like you smell it to the back of your tongue almost. Ooh, not very nice. Give it to Brian and have a smell there. Weird smell. So anyway, back to the point, is that the elephants, right at the end of the dry season, right at the end of the drought, were targeting this. It's not for food. My belief, at least, is anyway, it's a type of self-medication. The elephants this year were forced to eat a lot of woody compounds, a lot of roots. And the trees out here, some of them are quite violently toxic. And I think that the elephants use roots like this to purge their systems of these toxins so that they can carry on eating the little bit of nutrients that they do get from their roots. Needs to be balanced against their systems being poisoned slowly over the dry season. I absolutely believe that these elephants know, or the older elephants at least anyway, know that at the end of a dry season, when your body has got these accumulated toxins, to have a bit of a purgative every now and again is a good thing. And I think that is why these gardenias were targeted this year, is that the elephants just sort of self-medicating. Don't you just think that that's a fantastic story? I mean, they haven't dug out the roots. They've just pushed the tree over, and the root bark and the roots that have come up with the tree have been eaten. Tree has been destroyed. I mean, this is really the only root that's left, and the few smaller roots around my legs. There's a smaller root, chewed. Just, I don't know, incredible. I suppose similar to how people around the world, I know in particular the African people in South Africa value seawater as a purgative. So quite often around Christmas time is the time where people traditionally celebrate this particular ritual of drinking a lot of seawater, bathing in the seawater, purging their bodies, and cleansing themselves of toxins and of, I suppose, bad spirits in a way. I think this do the same. You know, we don't gift elephant enough intelligence, I think. I think they know exactly what they're doing. Exactly, even if just on a purely instinctual level. We're still on our way to Sydney's. It's just been such a lovely day for a walk. You can see we've got this quite thick band of clouds, which is keeping it cool. I would say that it's probably in the upper 60s at the moment, maybe low 70s. No sun to speak of, just an unbelievably, no wind to speak of as well. Just creating the circumstances for a very, very nice walking day. We're still on our way to Sydney, so when we get there, we'll give you another update. In the meantime, you're going to go and have a look at a giraffe.
Look at this, we got two young boys, young male giraffe. So we didn't find the elephants, but we found the second largest mammal out here. And they are play fighting. Not very serious, but it is quite graceful. It's almost like a ballet dance. And of course, these guys are way too young to be competing for mating rights yet. So this is just practice sparring. You can see how they widen their stance to get a bit of stability before they swing their neck. And it's very much a blocking and parrying, and there we go. Oh. The one closest to us is a bit older. Yeah, it's the feint. When you're going to swing, try to catch your opponent unawares. Ballet/boxing. It's quite a strange movement. And it's interesting how you wouldn't think that neck was so flexible. You can see how they bend and twist. Now this is only playing. Oh, look at that. Now, I can't see if there are any other giraffe around. It's possible. It's quite likely sometimes with young males. So it sounds like you guys are getting some incredible screen shots or screen grabs of this wonderful giraffe ballet/boxing match. Nina's is wondering, how do I know which of the giraffes older? Is it by their height or by their colouring? Colouring is a bit of a dangerous one. It's just based on body size and height. So the one at the back is significantly bigger than the one closest to us at the moment. So you can just see the thickness of the neck, the height, all of that comes into telling how old they are. Well, I don't know how old they are, but they're probably maybe around 10, under 10, the smaller one. Now, giraffes are quite long-lived. They live to about 30 years old in the wild. Well, looks like time to go snack. No. Now, this is very much quite tame, quite mild, just playing, as I was saying. And Anna-Marie's wondering, have I ever seen a serious giraffe fight in person? Anna-Marie, I've seen quite a few, and you can actually hear the fight going on from up to 2 kilometers away as those males smack into each other with incredible force. I'm going to try to get a little bit closer. Now, a lot of people initially thought that the giraffe's long neck was for food competition. That's why it evolved. And the more research that's been done into it, it turns out it actually seems to be more for sexual competition. So the fighting over females, the males with the longest neck gets to swing the hardest. So obviously using it as a great big pendulum. Hello, boys. Looks like you guys have been at it for a while, judging by the tracks in the road. And you can see there. Now, hi, Emily. Emily Moore is wondering, will giraffe still play fight when they're fully matured? Not that I've ever seen it. When big adult males start fighting, it's generally quite serious. And it will be because there's a female estrus close by. Boys. Where are the elephants? You're tall, you can see them. So point us in the right direction, giraffe. That's why. I was wondering, why are they running off? There's a large construction lorry coming down the road behind us, so I'm going to get out of the way. Oh, maybe we'll stay for a quick last look. Hello, boys. a lot of vultures around here now. I saw some to the south, now there's some to the north. I see the vulture in the tree beyond the giraffe there. Okay, well, we're going to move on before we keep causing traffic jams. So while we keep moving on, let's go back to Jamie and the leopards.
After the exertions of his morning, Hosana is taking a little bit of a break. He has beheaded the Inyala carcass and dumped it behind that fallen log and is now resting, quite exhausted after his endeavours of the morning. Are you tired, little boy? Has it been a very busy day already, and it's not even 7 o'clock yet? As he snoozes away, he's now put himself in a rather inconvenient position, and we might have to do some repositioning, because I can't see Karula at all. No, that's not true. I can. That's as much as I can see of Karula. And my view of Shungile is not fantastic either. Oh no, it's not so bad. Not a terrible view of Shungile, but it is not perhaps her prettiest end, and she is a very, very pretty leopard. All in all, 3 very sleepy and contented ladies. 2 ladies and 1 boy. Let me just do some repositioning so that we've got a slightly better view of Hosana. As I said, he's chewed the head off. I'm not entirely sure where it has disappeared to, but I had a sort of impression in my mind, or a vivid image of it rolling down into the Mulwati drainage line. I doubt that has actually happened, though. I think he probably would have gone to fetch it. Okay, let's see. Oh, drat. I think I missed the gap. Let's see if we do this. That'll do. I don't want to get too much closer. I think it will upset Karula a little bit. Heads up. Hello, girl. As I said, I don't want to push any further into their space. And they're quite contented in their thicket of guari bushes. Now, the nice thing would be for the spot in terms of having breakfast is that Karula would already have assessed the area and decided which tree she would put the kill into. But for now, she's not even going to bother. There is so little of it. It was such a tiny little nyala that I don't think she's going to bother to do it. I think the 3 of them are going to finish it off. I mentioned earlier that they had already eaten. They did actually have a baby Inyala kill yesterday. And Amber, you wanted to know how long Hosana will stay full from eating this baby Inyala. Well, one question, of course, is whether or not he's going to scoff at all, or if he's going to allow his mother and sister to feed off some of it. But even then, the metabolisms of these predators work so incredibly fast that, and especially because he is a growing boy, so his body's putting all of that nutrients into expanding his size, I think you'll probably find that he'll go from round-bellied to almost flat-bellied in about 24 to 30 hours. It doesn't last them very long at all, which is why the pressure is sort of on Karula to be able to provide for them almost constantly. What are you looking at? Oh, looking at Mom. Oh, Karula, I wish you were on the other side of the log. That would have been such a fun role to have watched. Just a flash of white belly and feet up in the air. And he's still watching every single move that they make, whether it's Shungile or Karula. Because basically he's thinking at the moment is, I'm tired and I want to rest. And I'm actually quite full, so I don't really want to eat anything. But actually nobody else can have any either. Almost like a spoiled child that doesn't want to share. It's not his fault, though. It's not because he's spoiled. He's just a leopard doing what leopards do naturally. And moments like this are incredibly peaceful. It also makes one sort of want to go and join them. You can just enjoy the beauty of a morning like this morning. Very sleepy. I know that the other day Brent had the opportunity to look at both Hosana and Shongile's whisker spots, which is of course the way in which we identify various leopards. And I have a question to ask of all of you as to what the conclusion was about the spot patterns of the two of them. Because I heard something about Shongile having 5, which is very, very unusual. I haven't actually truly taken in the leopard spots of the spot patterns of these two cubs. For our new viewers, essentially one of the ways of identifying leopards is to look at the top row of whisker spots, which of course, as I started speaking about, he then hid relatively effectively behind a branch, positioning himself most comfortably. But if you wouldn't mind sending through the information on the spot patterns, I would be tremendously grateful. And speaking of spotted patterns, of course, leopards are not the only one to utilize such things. Unless I have misunderstood, Rebecca, I think it sounds as though Steph has found a spotted insect.
We managed to find another one of these jewel beetles that we saw yesterday in the tent. Very kindly identified as a Bustard, which is the genus. All jewel beetles are Bustard or from the Buprestidae. And then an unpronounceable scientific name. I just have to say thank you for that, but I, for the life of me, cannot remember what it is. I needed to write it down at the time. But definitely jewel beetle, and definitely one of the more colorful of any of the beetles that we find out here. Just have a look at that. Coppery colored head, all those stripes, weird dotted pattern at the end. Tiny, tiny little guy. Yeah. But that's not why we wanted to stop here. Why I wanted to stop here, I'm not one given to quizzes and things. I'd rather just tell you what it is. But in this particular case, I think what we're going to do is open up a quiz for you on what this track is. So a bit of track and sign identification. I'm going to put my Leatherman down here as a key to size. And I would like you to tell me what the track is that is inside there. This track. Alright, I'm going to give you some keys as to it, because otherwise it will be unfair. This is one track, and this is one track. So 2 tracks next to each other, and individual digits with a larger digit on the one side. So similarly repeated this side. Large digit, individual digits on this side. Not a common track to see. Let's see who of you can get it. Right? That is my quiz for today. Let's see what it's gonna be. So just the last little bit there, give you some screenshot time. Leatherman in there for a bit of scale. If you want to know a finger width, there's my finger for a bit of scale. Let's see if you can guess. Alrighty, we are almost at Sydney's Dam. I can hear the Egyptian geese honking in the distance. So, WLE, you've asked me, or you've submitted your answer in response to that. You've said, is it a porcupine? WLE, no, it's not a porcupine. It is a bit too small to be a porcupine. And remember, I said that they were 2 feet next to one another. So if we put 2 porcupine feet next to one another, we would have ended up with a track about that big 2 of them. Porcupine feet are about that big in size. So a little bit too big. Good guess. Carry on, you're on the right path here. So let's just, let's say why you're on the right path. You got the digit. You got the digits right. Melinda and James, you've submitted dwarf mongoose. Right size, wrong animal, and it's wrong because a dwarf mongoose has 4 pads of equal size, equal dimensions. This has, well, let me see if I can give you, this is going to give it away. This has a different amount of pads. Let me rather do that. So a different amount of pads to a dwarf mongoose, but the same size. You're on the right track there. Anything more? Lindsay, you've asked, is it a baboon? Closer than you think, Lindsay, but it's not a baboon. I quite like this, to be quite honest. I've never been one for quizzes, but I'm quite enjoying myself with this one. Don't worry, I won't steal Brent's thunder though. He is the quiz maestro. We're approaching this hippo lawns that is around Sydney's. Nectarnug, you've got it. 10 out of 10. It is a bush baby. That is exactly the track that you saw there is of the lesser bush baby. Well done, Nectarnug. That is actually a very, very good submission over there. You definitely got it much quicker than I thought anyone would get it. I think it took me longer to decide what it is. All right, we're going to send you back over to Jamie.
As often happens with a baby antelope kill, or perhaps a baby buffalo kill, we then have the very sad situation where poor mom has come back in search of her little one. And this female Inyala is slowly but surely putting herself in more and more danger the closer she looks for her baby. She knows she last saw her baby here. I don't know if she's realized that the leopards are still here, or what exactly has happened. All she knows is that instinct is driving her into where she knows there's danger, just to see whether or not she can try and help her little one or find it. And moments like this are absolutely heart-wrenching. I'm sorry, girl. I'm sorry. It's all over. And there'll be more to come. You can see she's intent and alert. She's looking across at the leopards. I think she's seen Shongile, but I'm not too sure. Now, leopards are incredibly opportunistic creatures. I don't think Karula's realized just how close this female is, because I think her body language would be very different if she had. But if she does realize this female Inyala's here, it wouldn't be the first time that a female has stumbled in to try and save a baby and ended up becoming a meal herself. Excuse me. She's very, very jumpy. She knows that leopards were around. She just doesn't know exactly where they are. Don't do it, girl. Don't come any closer. Ears out and alert, nose constantly sniffing. I think she's actually tried to circle round in a way that she can approach with slightly more vegetation cover, but also with a bit more visibility so that she can actually see. So she's moved out of the riverbed and onto the top of the bank. Don't come this way. She can see she's moving along the outskirts, making sure she's got a nice open path to flee through. She's getting closer and closer to us. Drawn by that instinct to go and look for her little one. Every step closer she takes becomes more and more dangerous. At the distance she's at now, she's probably about, I would say about 30 meters away from Karula. It's still too far. Karula will not be able to cover that distance fast enough. You know, if Karula was awake, of course, which she is not. Every time the Inyala closes that gap, she gets herself further and further into trouble. And she knows it. She knows it's dangerous. Imagine what this is like for her. Every instinct is telling her to run. There was a leopard there, there was a predator there. It's not safe. And yet she's got that incredibly strong maternal bond driving her on against her fear. Unbelievable display of bravery. And one thing that she has done, for which I selfishly am quite glad for, is she hasn't called. And Margaret, you were wondering if she might call for her baby. No, I don't think she's going to, although it does happen. We've seen it with buffalo, zebra. Often the female animal will call to see if she can't relocate her little one. But for the most part, Nyala female are relatively quiet. It's more the babies that bleat and make quite a bit of noise. But Margaret, I don't think she's going to. I think she's aware of how much danger there is. Shame, girl. Almost wish we could communicate to her that it's done. There's no point. You can see the oh goodness, flies crawling all over next to her eyes. She's not even blinking. She's so scared. It's okay, girl, we're not a threat. And still, the Queen of Djuma sleeps on. I can't see any sign of movement. "30 centimeters closer. A meter closer. 2 meters closer. Step by step by step." Now, Steph, you were wondering if she looks like a first-time mum, since she doesn't look very old. I was thinking the same thing, Steph. She doesn't. She looks very young. So yes, it could well be her first baby. And likely, although it's a very sad thought, it's probably not going to be the first one she loses either, or the only one that she loses. Oh, Shungila, I think's given away her position. She just rolled over. And it's done. Shungila rolled over, and the Inyala female spotted her. We've got such a tug-of-war happening in this Inyala's mind. Fear and instinct. Look at the indecision in her body language. Whilst she stays frozen in position and decides what to do, I think that Steph has made his way all the way to one of the largest water holes. Let's go across to him.
Now, the largest empty water hole. We are at Sydney's now. It's a fairly common sight for you to see Sydney's dam, to be honest. I haven't seen Sydney's dam in probably more than 2 months. 2 months, I think. The last time I was in a vehicle was the last time I saw Sydney's dam, and that was an age ago, it feels like. I can't actually remember when last I was in a vehicle. And I'm dumbstruck at how empty it actually is. I mean, we've had some rain, so it has filled up a little bit, but generally speaking is much emptier than I thought it would be. I mean, it was obviously the drought, and obviously we haven't had a lot of rain, but it's jarring every now and again when you see something that you don't expect, I think is the real answer. What have we seen while we've been here? Not much really. There was some waterbuck and some impala on the way in here that we saw. There's a squirrel busy giving an alarm call for something around here. No fresh tracks of much except for a buffalo or two. But that's it. We're going to start making our way back now to camp. Another hour and a half or so walking back to camp. But lots of stuff still on the way. We're going to send you over to Jamie for that mummy nyala.
And listen to this. The standoff is over. She knew there was something, but she didn't realize what it was. And now she's barking out her alarm call. In the end, it was Shungile that broke the standoff. She couldn't stand. Sorry, let me let you hear the sound of this bark. See if she does it. Now she knows, ultimately, exactly what happened to her little one. She knows she can keep a safe distance. She knows where the leopards are, although I don't think she knows where Karula is. I think she knows where the cubs are, but I don't think she's realized that Karula's there. And that deep, powerful alarm call. And as I said, ultimately it was Shungile that broke the standoff. She couldn't stand the thought that her brother might have more breakfast than she does. And she got up and she moved, and as she did, Hosana got up to defend the kill. And our female Inyala realized exactly what it was she was looking at, and why all of her instincts were saying run. But still she stays. Such a characteristic sound. A sound that when you hear it, you know automatically it means there's a lion or a leopard nearby. Nyala and Kudu don't do arms very often. Sorry, my girl. It's time to walk away. She knows she's at a safe distance. She knows, and in fact, she'd rather keep an eye on where the leopards are, moving slowly rather than running, so that she can make sure that they're not going to come bursting out after her. Little Shungile? Well, you've earned the chance of a buffet, my girl, but at least you've managed to get the head. I love that sound, I have to say. It's a beautiful sound. A deep booming bark. Little Shungile, clutching her prize, trying to work out whether in fact it was worth it after all of that. Although it does make quite a fun toy. And as our leopard cubs devour what's left of the baby Inyala, off goes Mom. She's given up. And survival instinct has won. Ooh, shame she's so jumpy. And off she goes to start the whole process again. Good girl. If she's made it, let's see what Shungile is up to. Here she goes, clutching at the head, which has now managed to get jammed between the various branches. Nicholas, you wanted to know why she left the baby in the first place. Because she was scared. And because leopards came bursting out of nowhere and she didn't know what was happening, and panic took hold and she ran. In the vague, because there was nothing she could have done. There was no way she could have defended her baby against 3 leopards. Sharp claws and teeth at the ready. And she just had to hope that her baby followed her. And when it didn't, she went back to investigate where it was, in the vain hope that perhaps it was still alive. But there would not have been anything that she could have done. Buffalo fight back, sometimes zebra fight back, but nyala, just especially female nyala, just don't quite have that capacity. Oh dear, Shungile, what has happened here? Have you got it trapped? Now what are you going to do? Her son has disappeared into the Mulwati with his kill. He's dragged it off down there. He wasn't going to let his sister have any of it, despite the fact that he was fast asleep when she went up to eat some. Oh, she is very beautiful. She'll have to return to one of her favorite pastimes of nudging and battering trees, playing with them instead. I think she's lost her head as well. There we go, girl. A big and somewhat, in my imagination, somewhat frustrated yawn. What's happened, girl? Did it just fall into the most inconvenient place? And where's your brother gone? I think what we'll probably do is we'll probably sit here for another few moments and then go around to back down into the drainage line itself to see whether or not we can't catch up with Hasana and see whether Shungile, whether we can't see her from the other side. Oh dear. That head is stuck between the jackalberry on the right, oh sorry, not jackalberry, tambuti, it's a tambuti, the large trunk that you see on the right of Shungile, and then the fallen, what I think is a fallen leadwood, and then there's a sort of a whole combination of raisin bushes growing in between them, and the head is stuck in there, and she just can't quite get it out, despite her best efforts. She's going to try, though. So much fun to watch them problem solve, and the frustrations along the way, and a little shake of the tail, and the distractions as well in terms of their attention span. 1 minute she's trying to get the head, the next she's attacking a branch. Now she's going to go and investigate what her brother's doing. I have no doubt that on the other side of this slope he is snarling at her. Luckily, she's not particularly starving. She already obviously had a share of Mom's kill. And in fact, she actually looks even more... You're right, Viam. You pointed that out this morning. She looks even more round-bellied than her Sana does. So it might even be that she got the most of the last kill. In which case, it's only fair that her brother enjoys a little bit more than she does. Looking up at a bird in the tree. Now looking at her tail. Constant short-term attention span. Okay. Trying to decide whether or not I'm going to be cutting off my nose to spite my face if I go down into the drainage line. Might not have a view of them at all. And perhaps we'll stick with Shungile a little bit longer. We haven't spent much time with her this morning, so it might be nice to There's nothing quite like the atmosphere in the bush after the rain. The birds are all chirping away merrily. Everything feels crisp and clean. There's no dust floating around. And the place just feels like it's teeming with life. Like everywhere you look, there's something new and exciting to be found. I wonder if Shungile feels much the same way. All sorts of movements and sounds. Imagine how much she hears. She's seen something. It might even be that nyala, actually. She might have moved around. But imagine what kind of a sensory overload summer must be. They must have some way of tuning out the sounds around them. If their hearing is as sensitive as it is, we often feel as if we're a little bit overwhelmed by the cicadas and the various insects. Imagine what it must be like for them. Listening to the sound of the wood borers in the trees and the insects rustling in the grass, and somehow being able to filter all of that noise out, the sound of the birds, to what is relevant in their lives. The alarm call, perhaps, or the rustle of bushes that is not just insects or the wind, but actually something moving through it. It's absolutely essential that they're able to distinguish between the different sounds. It is fascinating the way that they can do it, when you think how much more acute their senses are than ours. How much of their brain is devoted to identifying each and every single individual noise that they hear. While our leopard family settles in for a relaxed Wednesday morning, let's go and find out what Brent has been up to.
So I'm heading down towards Zoe's Road, which is always a favourite spot for Impala to hang about, and see if we get any luck there. Remember the hashtag Safari Live if you want to ask us any questions. And it is a stunning morning, nice and cool here in the African bush, and as Jamie's just mentioned, teeming with life after the rain. You can hear insects. I'm hoping to see some good birds, but we're just going to keep scouring the earth to see what we can find for you. We're coming down to the junction of Zoe's Road and Balanati's Road, and I'm hoping there's a herd of impala in that area, and maybe, fingers crossed, and I'll have a little bebe with them. No sign of this impala herd yet. They might be a little bit further to the south. Hi, Robin in San Diego. Beautiful part of the United States, San Diego. Now, Robin would like to know, do all kingfishers have different calls? Indeed they do. So of course the most common that we hear during the summer, but not yet, is the trill of a woodlands kingfisher. Now, although a lot of the kingfisher calls are quite similar, they are in fact different. But let me just get to this lovely, one of my favorite spots on Djuma. It's got a wonderful vista as we look down towards the southeast over the Mawati Basin. So Jamie's right in that river basin with Queen Karula and the progeny, and we are right on the top of one of the crests looking down. Oh, and we found a bird as well, but not the kingfisher. Don't run away, don't run away. I'll pretend I'm not going towards you. Have you got him there, Jean-Andre? It's not a Quran, it is a black-bellied bustard. To the right, there he is. often called the champagne bird due to the call it does when it's trying to attract a mate. It goes and sounds like a champagne cork clicking. Now, Robin, I haven't forgot about your kingfishers, don't you worry. There we go. I'm just trying to get the calls out. There we go. It called. Did you hear that? Blip. I'm just going to go a little bit further back. Obviously, my whistling is not nearly as good as James Henry's, but I do attempt. Hopefully it calls again. It's going to wander out into the road now. Oh, found something to eat. Give us one more call, come on. Now that was dismal compared to how beautiful the black-bellied bustard does it. Come on, here we go. Oh, they descend their neck. There we go. Yeah, so wonderful. Come on, again. So when they're calling like that, they are looking to attract other black-bellied bustards. Sometimes it's a little while between calls. There we go, see the beaks open, it might be preparing. Oh, awesome. It is amazing, all the different variations that the different creatures out here use to attract the ladies. And the same could be said for human beings. Not much prump and preen that the male goes through. There you go, doing a little bit of, gelling of the feathers. Making sure, looking at ship shape in case a lady wanders through. Got to make sure all those feathers are looking ship shape. If one's out of place, she might turn him down and go and look for another boy. There we go. That's absolutely wonderful. Now that we get the red-crested koran here, they are related, even though this is quite a lot bigger. Well, one stoner and two cats says it almost sounds like water drops. It is. It does have a wonderful liquid chortle to it. Now, there's quite a few different animals that might prey upon a koran. Now, they've actually been found in leopard scat quite frequently, or black-bellied bustard, and also martial eagles have been known to take them quite commonly. Now, not always, but quite often, the black-bellied bustard male will display close to an old nest site, normally within about 200 meters of it. So there could be an old nest site somewhere here. Now, Aaron is wondering how big is the egg of a black-bellied bustard. It's about 5 to 6 centimeters in length, and it weighs between 70 and 80 grams. Now, their nest isn't a nest as such. It's very similar to the other ground nesting birds. It's a scrape in the ground. So knowing that they often call close to nest sites, it's very, very important for us to check very carefully if we see them with a girl. Maybe we'll find I've never found a busted nest on Safari Live, but there's a first time for everything. Still preening away. Such elegantly marked feathers. I love those big tail feathers that stick up there. You can see wonderful stripes along them. Oh, some serious cleaning of the wings there. And you can see that black line that runs all the way from the belly up the neck. There we go. Lebeck said, did I say black-bellied? Yes, I did. So it is a black-bellied bustard. We can't really see its belly from here, but there's that dark line that runs down from under the throat onto a full black belly. There we go. There's that dark line that goes down, and underneath those wings there's a black stomach. Oh, we nearly got a view of it there. Let's get those feathers in order, mister. Here comes another call. How it extends its neck. Jason says this is a lovely specimen of a bustard. I agree, and being very, very kind to us and displaying so nicely for us out in the open. Quite often you hear it, and it could be behind some bushes or in some thickets. Now, Robin, I haven't forgotten about the kingfishers, don't you worry. And we're going to leave this bustard to keep trying to attract a girlfriend. So, as I said, we haven't quite heard the chit-chirr of a woodlands kingfisher yet. And hopefully we're going to be hearing it soon as they arrive. So Robin was wondering how the different kingfishers sound. So that's the woodlands. Now, grey-hooded kingfisher, Tristan, a friend of mine, saw one recently, so they could be around already. So they sound similar, but not quite the same. And then the two we hear the most, the most common in this area is, of course, the brown-hooded and the striped. Now, they call throughout the year. Some of you might recognize this one. And the striped kingfisher. So those are two resident of the very pretty call. Now, those are the two sort of more permanently resident of the non-water-bound kingfishers. So the Hallison kingfishers, the ones that are mostly insectivorous and don't spend their time around permanent water. Not to say you don't see them, and also I've seen a couple of pygmy kingfishers so far, tiny little wonderful guys with pink cheeks, but we haven't managed to get them on camera. They're still quite quick. There used to be a pygmy kingfisher nest at one of the old hyena dens, and so hopefully we find that nest again, or maybe even see one today. So we're still in search of elephants and baby impala, and the only part of Djuma I haven't checked this morning is the south, so that's where we're heading. relative to the black-bellied bustard is the red-crested Koran. Now, we haven't yet caught the red-crested Koran's mating display on camera, and I think we'll all be very excited to whoever manages to catch that first. Now, that's obviously called the suicide bird, or it's a nickname, and what they do to impress the ladies is the males will fly after calling directly up into the air, close their wings and plummet to the ground and open just before. So the closer, the more daredevil you are, the better you are in the eyes of the female red-crested Koran. Now back to the kingfishers. Paul's wondering, do the females also call like that? They do, Paul, so male and female kingfishers will call quite similarly. Aha! Actually, before, let's go back. I spotted something next to the vehicle. And there we go. So there we go. We're just looking at this. Oopsie. Little plant there. Now, it's a very distinct heart-shaped leaf, and I'm wondering if anyone remembers my lessons from before the drought and the dry season, and that is a really useful medicinal plant if you've got an injury, and it has a very soothing feel if you use it as a plaster or a bandage. Now, who can remember what is the name of that plant? If you can, I'll be suitably impressed, and if you know that answer, send it through to the hashtag Safari Live. Now, Kyle's just reminded me of something quite important. Last year, today, was the first time we saw a woodlands kingfisher. Ooh, so the pressure is on. Will we find a woodlands today? Will the air become filled with the cacophony of chirps from that we're going to experience for the next few months? Now, because of the incredibly dry period we've been through, there is a chance that the woodlands might come a little bit later. They might have spent a bit more time in Zambia or Botswana on their way down. They've had a bit more rain up there, so they could be a better reason to stay up there for a bit longer and feed up before heading down south here to us. Now, all my impala hotspots seems to be devoid of impala. I wonder if it's because this is the area the dogs ran through yesterday, and all the impala are still calming down and they're getting rid of their jittery nerves after wild dogs have been in the vicinity. There's not very good visual of them, but there's a little herd of buffalo. They seem to have been spending quite a bit of time here. I think Jamie had them in the exact same place yesterday, hiding from the Nkahumas. Can't really see them. They're just... let me try. I think... There we go. It is a buffalo, I promise. There we go. Now we can see it's a buffalo. Now, there is quite a lot of nice green grass up here on the crest. Maybe they're just staying here and taking advantage of that. Of course, the line's on the other side of the reserve, so it's probably a good place to be if you're a buffalo. As I said, we're not going to go off-roading towards them. They are still quite skinny and probably a bit skittish, so we're just going to let them carry on feeding and continue on our adventures in search of elephants, baby impala and woodlands kingfishers. So we've got one answer in already for the quiz. Is it in aloe? It is not in aloe at all. It does have a very juicy sap that is quite soothing, as I said, on burns or open wounds. They do get flowers, but it all depends on the rainfall whether they flower or not. Marco would like to know, is it a pygmy elephant ear? It is not, Marco, but that's a that's a good guess. You're getting into the right area. Nope, something flew, and I was just trying to make sure it wasn't something really interesting. There we go. Well done, Bridget in Johannesburg, South Africa. You are spot on correct. It is indeed an arum lily. And they do come with a beautiful white flower. Sometimes they don't flower. It all depends on the amount of rainfall that falls. Now, while we look for the biggest animal out here, the African elephant, Steph is going to take you in to the other end of the spectrum to something incredibly tiny.
What you're having a look at over here is a very rarely seen carrion, what am I trying to say? Keratin beetle, excuse me, Keratin beetle. That's you got an eye view of a keratin beetle eating the fur of a discarded impala skin. And this carcass is just full of them. We're going to pick it up now. I'm going to give the camera back to Brian. Where we're standing, the signal is bad. And so I was holding the camera, hence that little bit of a shaky one that you saw there. Now we'll zoom in, you can actually see the whole skin. And just have a look at it all, just covered. It's an old impala skin. Impala died here, and nothing came and ate it. But it has left the skin pretty much intact, which usually gets eaten by leopard or hyena or lion, and has allowed us this very rare view of these keratin beetles that are busy eating the fur, busy eating the hair. You can see where they have fed, the hair has been eaten clean, pretty much level with the rest of the carcass, and all this is left. A slow moving beetle, just quite content to chew the hair and to digest it. Here we're seeing, well, they've just finished mating as well. Also another rare, we don't see this very often, everybody. It does. One stone and two cats. You've just said it looks like this beetle's wearing an army hat. It does look a little bit like a pith helmet. I must agree with you over there. But just marvel in the fact that what you're seeing here is quite rare. I mean, I'm thinking of the amount of times that I've actually seen this in my guiding career, probably less than 5 times, where you've seen so many keratin beetles at any one time. And that's usually because the impala skin gets eaten as part of the meal, and not much is left for these poor beetles. But yeah, we're having a look at interactions, fights over a good patch. See, he's making his advances over here. Shame, can't even have a decent meal. I actually think he's just trying to dominate her. Let me see. I don't mean to intrude on their privacy here, but it's just behavior I've never seen before. No, it's definitely mating behavior. Oh, that is just so bizarre. And I suppose with this resource actually being quite limited, I mean, you get a lot of horns lying around, and they absolutely do feed on the horns, but hair is easily obtained, much less hard than trying to chew through a horn. And I just think that this is probably, for these beetles, would be a feast and a collection point. And you'd probably find that because there are so many beetles here, it just gives the opportunity for them to socialize, do a bit of mass mating, I suppose, because everyone is here. It's just interesting. Just the behavior that we can see here. It's just so unique to see. It's just nice. I don't know much more about keratin beetles. The only thing you really know about them is that they're only one of 2 species out here that do feed on keratin, and you don't really see them that often. Now when we're seeing them, I don't know much more about them at all. It's just, yeah. I suppose just take it in, enjoy it. What else can we do? Observe. All right. I think you've observed enough. we can carry on just before it gets going too much. We're still busy following these game paths, sort of back into or back away from Sydney's dam. And we're dipping in and out of signal over here. So before we lose you again to a crash cut, I suppose, I'm going to send you over to Jamie.
We are still with the royal family. I'm making the absolute most of seeing my first leopards since I got back, and of course very glad that it happened to be Karula and her family. I made a mistake earlier. I thought it was the head that Shungile had dropped, and that Hosana had taken the carcass away down with him and was hissing at her. I was completely mistaken. Now that we've repositioned and come in a little bit closer, I can see why Shungile was so very frustrated with the situation that she'd landed herself in, because it's not the head stuck between the branches, but the entire nyala carcass. Oh, no wonder she was so cross with the fact that she couldn't actually get it. The head's rolled off down the hill and has been abandoned by the 2 young cubs. And in fact, Hosana, I wrongly blamed him for taking the carcass away, but he hasn't had anything to do with it. He actually moved off when his sister came in, which, by the way, does take us back to Paul's question about the innate dominance of a male cub, because he clearly just wasn't too bothered with the idea of fighting with her. And he abandoned the kill and went off and left her to it. And he just actually wanted to go and nap down in the drainage line. I can't see him anymore. He's gone completely flat. Now, all in all, a very peaceful morning spent with our leopard family. Not so much for the poor Inyala, of course, but for our leopards, they are well fed and most content. And because they've got such round bellies, if it were a different situation, if they were hungry, we would be seeing a very different scene, especially if Karula were hungry, because she could finish off that entire nyala herself in the matter of hours. If it were a different situation, I might say to you that there's a chance they will have moved before the sunset safari this afternoon or by tomorrow, but I actually think they're going to stick around. I think they're going to be here for the next few hours, and maybe even if we're really lucky, they might be here until tomorrow morning. It just depends on what happens. Which actually was a completely useless sentence, I'm sorry. It just depends on what happens. Well, obviously it does. That was really profound, Jamie. A truly profound sentence. We never would have guessed that. My apologies. Lots of hoisting trees if Karula bothers with it, but I don't think she will. We're actually in such a beautiful area. We're sort of tucked away under the safety of a combination of bush willows, leadwoods, and tambuertes. It was a bit of a tricky area to get into, with the guarri bushes sort of dangling over our heads. Poor Viam was showered by the tree. Was it water or was it leaves, or a combination of both? Water. It's the joy of the post-rain drive. Even if it's not raining on you, as soon as you drive under a tree and the antenna knocks the tree, you end up getting showered. Which has always been a fun game. I don't know if you ever played this when you were kids, or perhaps even now when you're adults, but going up to someone when they're standing under a tree and just pulling the branch and showering them. And that happens almost inevitably here. I noticed the cubs were looking a little bit soggy earlier, but they seem to have dried out completely. Oh, flies. So irritating, hey girl. I love the way that their muscles twitch like that instinctively. She is so much smaller than her brother. But those big feet, those massive feet, do give an indication as to just how much more she has to grow. I wonder if she's going to be bigger than her mom. Hey, little brown-eyed girl. Oh, big yawn. Is it time to make another go of it? Time to see if you can get that out of there. Problem solve. You got it in there, Shungile. It might come out exactly the same way you managed to get it in there if you managed to figure that out. Not quite worth the bother right at this moment. A lazy lion day. Lie-in day, not lion day. These are leopards. I called her the brown-eyed girl earlier. She didn't quite retain that incredible hazel colour that she had to her eyes when we first started seeing them properly, though. It wasn't even hazel, actually. It was a deep chocolate brown. I'd never seen that on a leopard cub before. It's quite an unusual eye colour for leopards. And they've become a lot greener in colour. She didn't keep it, but they were beautiful. They're still beautiful, and just not quite as unusual as the eye colour that she was born with. Fascinating how they change. Thank you for rolling over, girl. Actually gives us a really beautiful view. Little bloody patches on her elbows. Still fluffy. Still fluffier than Mom. Just that little bit. Retaining that downy cub layer. And I always find it incredibly special that they feel comfortable enough with us to sleep this deeply with us right next to them. And she is fast asleep. Amazing how fast they fall asleep as well. From awake to asleep and awake again in a matter of seconds. That is definitely not something I am able to do. I don't know if any of you perhaps have the napping abilities of cats, but I certainly do not. And that ability to wake up as quickly as they do as well, which I suppose is most essential out here. And as beautiful Shungile snoozes away, it seems as though Brent has found something arguably almost as pretty.
Look at that, the rain has brought out one of my favourite things, flowers! And this is the first lilies of the season, and they are crinum lilies. I'm coming to have a closer look to see which crinum. Now, there are two main species of crinum we get here. There are a lot of crinum lilies around, and I'm trying to see. So what we're looking for in the one type of lily is there's normally a little pink line on the inside, and that's called a candy striped crinum. This doesn't seem to have the candy stripe, so I think this is probably a river crinum, which is the other more common species here. Now, when handling these type of things, you got to be quite careful because they are quite noxious. The sap can be very, very, very nasty. But if you touch the flower, it's fine. But it's if you get any of the sap or in the bulb. Now, there's another one here. Ooh, I'm going to turn this one to you because it's reproducing parts are still looking quite fresh. This one looks like some of the insects have fed off that already. Oh, let me try to keep still. There we go. There's a bit of wind. But look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Crinum lilies. Now, I am on the lookout for flowers always. And as I said, after the rain, it's going to take a little while. But I think in the next couple of days, we're going to see lots of wonderful flowers. And great to start off with probably the largest of the lilies we get here, the crinum lily. Now, because it's been so dry, I'm really, really hoping that for the first time on Djuma, I'm going to see a fireball lily. Now, doesn't that sound fantastic? We'll definitely be keeping a very sharp lookout for them. But if you want to have a look what a fireball lily looks like, just Google a fireball lily or African fireball lily, and you should see the picture. Now, it's just basically this ball of little red flowers, and it's exquisitely beautiful. But we're going to carry on towards quarantine, we still haven't found any impalas. That's very strange. When you look for impalas, you can't find them. When you're not looking for impalas, they're everywhere. Now, look at that already. That crinum, there's another crinum here. These ones are already been, looks like they're pollinated and have already just flopped down to the ground. So quite often with a lot of the lilies and stuff like that, they don't last very long. Oh my. Let's just go forward a bit, Shonda. I spotted something else. No, sorry, false alarm. Now, I think one of the next flowers we might see is, or there's two. They look quite similar. One is the roadside pimpernel, and the other is the lion's eye. Now, you got to look carefully because the flowers look very similar, but if you start looking at the leaves, they're quite different. Now, we didn't have a great flower season last year because of the drought, so I'm hoping we get a much better flower season. Now, one of the fascinating things about a lot of the flowers, and especially after a long drought like that, we might see flowers we've never seen before. Some flower species will only come out every 10 years, every 20 years, every 8 years. So really exciting. So I'm definitely going to be keeping a very close eye. Whoopsie, there goes my door. On the ground and on the beautiful flowers that we get here out in the African bush. It is a bit of a pet passion of mine, wildflowers. Okay. Keep checking now. Now after the crinums, I'm looking at every little patch of grass, every bit of patch of ground, trying to see some flowers. Now, as I said, we should be getting the lion's eye hibiscus. Oh, lion's eye hibiscus is another one, a different lion's eye, a big yellow flower, a creeper, that should also be coming out. The morning glories should be coming out. The lamb's tails and the heliotropes, and of course the devil, large devil thorn. I'm trying to think what else is probably going to see. Oh, pink bells, Hymenias should be coming soon as well as anthericums. So I'm really hoping, especially if this overcast weather continues for a bit longer, giving those plants a chance to explode out in absolute wonder. But as of yet, there's very, very few, but they could be coming soon. Okay, well, I get so excited about flowers, so I'm going to go keep looking for flowers for the last little bit of the safari, and while Jandra and I do that, let's go see how Steph's getting on Shank's pony.
And from flowers and flowers searching, looking at another hunter of flowers, this millipede. They do eat flowers from time to time. And just another one of the fantastical creatures that live here in the bush with us. And we found something. This is a zebra wood that managed to survive the drought against all odds and pretty much intact. Hasn't been fed on much by anything, and I'm hoping it stays that way. These poor trees get absolutely hammered by elephant, and this one looks to have survived it by some miracle. So I'm just sharing some time with this tree and giving it some congratulatory thanks and well wishes. You know, just these energy flows out here are pretty good. And it's come to that part of the tow where we have to say goodbye, unfortunately. You know, one of those things. We have got a closed show this evening, so we'll catch you again for a walk tomorrow morning on the AM Safari. I just want to say thank you very much for the support. Brian just wants to say thank you as well. We had some fun today on the walk with you, and we'll catch you again soon. Hope you have a nice day, wherever you are.
And she's here. 3. Sorry everybody, I'm just having a quick chat with one of the other vehicles to let them know exactly where the leopards are. So just bear with me one moment. Yeah, there's Karula's there and then the 2 cubs are here. What we're going to be doing is in the next few minutes we'll move out and give them our position so that they can see a little bit more clearly. Since we have got the best view in the house, I think, of beautiful Shungile. Her brother's slightly more hidden. And then Mom, of course, is completely flat. So Shungile tried one more time to get that Nyala carcass out, and she just had no success. Thoroughly frustrating, isn't it, girl? We were just chatting a little bit earlier about the sheer power of these animals' reflexes, the speed. The fact that that kill happened so incredibly quickly. She must have just stumbled upon them and grabbed that Inyala. Oh, look. You see the double canine? She's growing her permanent teeth. She's got 2 canines. That is adorable. I love it when they have that. Her baby canines are still in, and she's got it on her top canines. She's actually got a double set. The permanent teeth are growing, and she's got a double set of canines. I think that Hassan has actually got his permanent teeth now, but Shungile still hasn't lost her baby teeth, and as a result, she's a little bit like a shark. She's got two rows of teeth. Come on, you want it? Okay, no, she's busy digging now, making sandcastles. At least in the top left corner, and I think in the top right as well. How amazing is that? Just like your puppies and your kittens at home. Look at the fine, sensitive hairs on the inside of her ears. Well, these cameras allow us the most phenomenal views. And what an incredibly exciting morning it has been for us, at least, and for the leopards of Djuma. From the excitement of earlier in the hunt and the playing, now just to these restful and very, very peaceful scenes in what is a truly stunning setting. She's already inherited her mom's poise. And perhaps it's just a leopard thing, the dignity of their postures. And those ears constantly twisting and turning, listening to the sounds around her. I think she's bored. I think she wants to play. It's not too hot, but her brother's asleep, her mom's asleep, and the carcass is unreachable. And looking for things to keep herself entertained. Now, Shamsan, you wanted to know if there is no sunset drive this afternoon. Shamsan, unfortunately not. It is a private rehearsal, and we do thank you and really appreciate your patience with these rehearsals. We do have very good reasons in order to do them, and of course, we will be having the televised broadcast to the United States tomorrow afternoon on our sunset drive. So no, there will be no sunset drive this afternoon. We've got a lot to sort out, lots and lots to do, all kinds of things to wrap our brains around. So we thank you for your patience and, as always, your unending support in terms of the steps that Safari Live has taken. And for those of you that are not in the US, who will not be able to see it televised, you will of course always be able to watch it on the normal means over the internet, and of course you don't have to worry about ad breaks. So there you go. And on that note, that draws to a close a very special, very emotional in a way, a sunrise safari, and it's time for us to do our goodbyes and our thank yous. So a big thank you to VM, as always, for his wonderful camera work and of course being on the ball with the more frantic moments of this morning's leopard hunt, and of course a thank you to Rebecca and to Kirsty in Final Control, and most importantly a big thank you to all of you watching across the globe. Thank you for sending through your questions and your comments, and of course for sharing in these special moments with us. And now for the last few seconds of the show, I think we should finish off with a view of the beautiful Shungile as she rests in the grey morning light. What a special way to enjoy a time with a very special leopard family. Bye-bye.